All right, folks, this is Belgrade Beach at Eurosonic, and just randomly we found a Belgrade singer-songwriter, Ana Curcin. So, Ana, it says right here that you were born in Baghdad.
Are we gonna go into all that? Yeah.
Yeah. Why
Yeah,
not?
I was
It's
born.
interesting.
I was born in Baghdad. Yeah, my father at the moment worked in Baghdad, and I was actually supposed to be born in Belgrade, but I was a month early, so it happened in Baghdad instead of.
Baghdad?
They were building some stuff back then. It was during the time of Yugoslavia, and a lot of Yugoslavian companies worked in all over the world and in Iraq as well. It was a different time.
Okay, you were raised in Moscow.
That's the next phase. Yes, that's the next phase. Then I lived in Russia for quite a long time. And at some point, I guess I wanted to head home a little bit, and I moved back to Belgrade at some point as well.
Yeah. So how did that international atmosphere that you were raised in sort of influence you, your life in Serbia and your perception of Belgrade?
Well, basically, I'm pretty sure it influenced me in every possible manner. Culturologically, I definitely always feel to be some kind of a foreigner in a way. But then again, it's great to be able to, I don't know, be affected by different cultures and different contexts, and I'm kind of bringing it along with me wherever I go, so that there are different perspectives on it. I don't know. For me, it was important to get back home at some point and kind of have that experience as well. But I don't mind always kind of dislocating myself and exploring that identity further.
Yeah, and so what cultures and influences can you say influenced your music?
Well, that's a very complex question. I don't know if when I first started playing, I was rather young, but then I made a huge break, and I got back to music in my late 20s, and it was kind of natural for me when I take the guitar and write songs in English, and
Why not Serbian?
Well, definitely because that language was distant from me for quite a long time, and Russian was definitely a foreign language I had to learn, which I speak much better than Serbian. And English was some kind of a medium, and obviously because of the music I listened to as well, and I was always leaning towards the folk and blues and those Americana kind of genres, and when I took the guitar for the first time, it was that is what came out of me. So intuitively I still rely on that, and now that I explore this musical world further, I'm open to different stuff, but this was the first input I've got when I started playing music and I started writing songs. So yeah, I kind of do it by the feeling, so that's where it's coming from.
How do you write songs? I mean, what does that look like, the process? Do you just hear melodies in your head? Do you start with lyrics?
That has been changing in time. When I wasn't thinking about it, the songs were coming out as a I don't know, expression of an emotion and a way to express something that I couldn't express differently but through music. So it was kind of an autotherapy or some way to canal some kind of emotion. Now that I kind of started doing it a bit more seriously, and that I'm exploring that field a little bit more, it's a more complex process, and it lasts longer. It's not an accident anymore. So it really depends of how I approach it, but it's definitely based on the emotion, and then it depends on what you do with it.
Okay, so what's the scene in Belgrade or Serbia like for your type of music?
Well, for this type, it's been growing in the last, I don't know, I could say 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I was rather surprised that when I started performing that I could find bands and singer and songwriters alike. And when I mean alike, for Serbia, the scene for bands performing in English was not a typical one, and it's funny, we're called Americana in Serbia, so that's a little bit funny in a way. But then again, it was nice to be able to recognize people who are thinking and performing alike, even though I had this occasion to be back in Serbia and to start playing just just because it happened that I'm in Serbia, and I don't have the same background of people who grew up and lived in Belgrade for their whole life. But then again, I guess that doesn't matter, and the music is open to all languages and all. and geographically it doesn't depend on that. But so yeah, the scene is very growing, and we have great acts coming up at this moment. They're performing not only in the Balkans but further.
What's your favorite place in Belgrade to play?
That's a difficult question.
Yeah,
I have
I know.
I have a favorite place. Grad, but it's not my favorite place to play because it's a great place who supported me a lot, and I love the place. But I love the garden. I like to play in the garden. Let's stick to that. Grad, the cultural center Grad, is my favorite place, but the garden, because the inside it's terrible to play. Yeah, you have a big pillar in front of you, and it's the pillar. It's the pillar gig, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I played that. Okay, so what changes would you like to see? How would you like to see the music scene in Belgrade grow?
Well, it would be definitely great to see some kind of infrastructure happening. I think it kind of dissolved. I don't know what happened before, because I came back to Serbia in 2008 and I started playing a few years later. But definitely it has been dissolving even since I started playing, because of the privatization and everything, and we lost a lot of radio stations, a lot of good magazines. We don't have any critique anymore, almost any critique. So it would be nice to have some kind of infrastructure happening. It's necessary for the musicians to grow, for the scene to grow, and to be able to communicate with the outside world as well.
Yeah,
obviously.
To me, it always seems like the gigs are like, for bands, there's like exit, beer fest, and then no money, no good sound.
No,
you know?
Well, definitely. There's a big gap. Institutions support when they can, but that is like an accident. To play in Dom Omladine, to play in Sava Center. We had this fantastic big gig, but it's a one concert. And for a musician, one concert in a year is not a career. It's an accident, and this needs to be able to be continuously, to be able to play, to have good gigs, to have some kind of feedback, to be able to, for information to circulate, to be able to send it out somewhere else. Serbia is not so big. You need to play outside of Serbia, and we need a lot of segments that need to support that. It's not only venues, it's media, it's press, it's collaborations, it's a lot of stuff. So I wish for that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we're really trying to make it better there, but it's hard, because of and it's really hard without any sort of like sponsor money,
Yes, it is hard, and it's harder when the
because
government.
Nobody wants to pay more than 500 dinars for a show. That's for sure,
That's for sure. That's for sure. It's evident when you put up a little high price, you totally lose the audience, because it's impossible. Financially, it's not the easiest time in Serbia as well, and. But also you cannot play you cannot play only in Serbia, obviously. If you want to do music, you have to be able to play in as much as possible.
So where have you played around here?
Well, actually, this is a nice moment as well. I played in Bratislava yesterday. I'm playing in Amsterdam tomorrow.
Where did you play in Bratislava?
It's I think it's the place called Muzi, something like that. It was a sweet, nice venue. When I travel alone, I do smaller solo gigs, and that's very nice because you get to be very intimate with the audience, and it's nice for me to get to know that audience. So I like those gigs.
How was the audience in Bratislava?
It was actually really nice. We had a great time, and I don't know, we managed to kind of introduce ourselves to each other during the show, which is an interesting thing. It doesn't happen always. So I had a very good time, and I don't know. We're planning some good shows in 2017, and I hope.
And tomorrow there was something you're playing.
Tomorrow there's a gig in Amsterdam. I think the place is called the Nieuwe Anita.
Oh yeah, I heard of that place.
Yeah, I'm playing there, and I don't know. It's gonna be my first time in Amsterdam. I played a little bit before in Berlin last year, but I haven't been in these parts yet much. So there is always a first time for everything.
There's always like some small pub or something that if you send enough emails, they're like. Come.
With the music, I think it should be like that. I mean, if you want to play, and if you want to grow as a musician, take your guitar and just go and play. I mean, things happen when you make them, and it's not about the world success. It's about the possibility to be able to play for me at least. And
step by step.
and if you can play, that's a great thing to do, and that's the whole meaning, at least for me.
Yeah. Well, great. And so, if you were to move to another city or country
again
to pursue your music, where would you be drawn to? What sort of city?
I'm gonna admit that I was in New York City for the last summer, and it's definitely not New York City.
Okay, what did you do when you were there?
I went to explore a little bit the city. I went to work a little bit. I went to see some gigs just to kind of escape Belgrade summer suffocation a little bit. And it was fun, but it was also very turbulent. And I don't know, probably since I left my 20s, the big cities such as New York, and I did live in big cities before, is a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Well, for 3 months, maybe for a couple of weeks would be great.
Well, in Belgrade, it's the right balance of a big city where something's happening, but space.
But that's for sure. But I'm exploring the answer to your question. Maybe Copenhagen, but if I get to see it, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So well, thanks for the interview.
Oh, thank you.
Reflections on the scene. This will be on Belgrade Beat. You can check it out.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Basically, we're building a YouTube channel in English for Belgrade.
Okay.
That's sort of, it's an English language local perspective on Belgrade.
That's great.
Somehow. So
That's great.
We're happy to have you on here, and great.
Thank you, and enjoy the Eurosonic in
it's going to be great.
Groningen. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, basically, I saw this great band from Slovenia yesterday and interviewed them here.
Okay.
Wacky Blues Professors. I mean, if you have a chance to check them out.
Oh, definitely, I will. I saw some acts yesterday. Some of them were really interesting.
Yeah.
I saw this Mario Butkovic, the accordionist.
Yes,
he was really.
Him too.
Oh, well done.
Today,
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't find any stuff online, but he was really interesting.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Well, thanks a lot for the interview.
Thank you.
And catch you later.